This is an 8-iron, and it's a dead shank.
Wow.
Way right.
Oh,
Takes
dead
a hop
shank.
off the path.
You got to be kidding me. Very tough pitch shot right here. You got to hit it into the hill. One hop up and bite, and it's in.
Kind of like that.
I would like to welcome to the Sub 70 podcast, Willy Wilcox. Been looking forward to this conversation. A lot of interesting things going on in his life right now with retirement, teaching, some changes coming up, living the camping lifestyle with campfires and beers. Sounds fun to me. So a lot to dive into. So thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I've seen some people wearing that sub 70 hat, and then when you reached out to me, I was like, man, I really like those hats.
Well, we're definitely going to get you some swag down. And, the podcast for me has been a ton of fun to get to talk to some of the guys, or if it's, tour players or architects or any of that kind of stuff that I think would be an interesting conversation. I truly enjoyed doing this. So like I said, thanks for taking the time. And I think we got some cool shit to talk about. It'd be fun.
Absolutely. I think you got a great brand, and I'm flattered that you wanted to talk to me.
Well, let's kind of dig into it a little bit here from the changes. How has life been, not kind of chasing it, right? Not having to grind and not having to put all of that work in you had to put in to be a successful touring professional. Do you miss it a little bit? Is it a relief? It's kind of over, a little bit of both? Where's your headspace right now with that decision and kind of the new life that you're leading at this point?
It's been a relief. It's like I watched a video on Billy Horschel today, and it was showing all his preparations and tournament week preparations and off week preparations, and I'm like, wow, I didn't do any of that. So my work ethic was good. I mean, I worked my butt off to get there, but then when I got there, I kind of I was under the impression that I was kind of like a John Daly type, and it turns out I wasn't. But coming from where I come from, I really, I didn't have that fire, and making what I made, and I was able to save, and I helped my parents, and it was a really fruitful endeavor for somebody coming from where I come from, and I'm just so relieved that I didn't blow it all, and I'm just relieved that I can help kids, and I can help people in my hometown, and it's been great. I love living in this camper. It's a nice little 25-foot Salem Cruise Light Forest River, it's man, I'm really enjoying my. It's not real. I mean, I guess it is time off because I'm not grinding, but yeah, life's been great. It's been really, really relaxing, and I get to look at the lake every day, and I get to help my dad grow the game in this state.
Was it for you part of it almost just making it to the PGA Tour and playing against the best at the highest level? Is that almost like your goal, your accomplishment, right? Was it sort of just I got there?
Making it to the damn Nationwide was that was it. If I would have just even had and sorry, I kind of cut you off there, but yeah, just even making it to the Korn Ferry or Nationwide at the time, was such a huge accomplishment. And, I just never saw past that. I didn't see winning tournaments. I didn't see anything. I just didn't see anything other than, hopefully paying some bills and paying my parents back for all the money they spent on bailing me out of jail. and I'm being brutally honest. I was able to help my family. I lived a really fun life for about 13 years. Just making it to the Korn Ferry Tour was everything to me.
So when you get out to the PGA Tour, that first year, is there any moments where it's like, holy shit, that's Tiger Woods. Holy shit, that's Phil Mickelson. And does it take a little bit to believe, because you earned your way there, that you're good
Yes.
enough to be there? Or does that come, I mean, your ball striking, I was looking at your golf swing today from 2015, man, it's as good as it was out there. And the stats back that up, from a ball striking standpoint. So it's not like it's me out there, fluking it. Like, you were that good. What was that first year like out on tour when you're in the big show and you got to learn these golf courses? And then is there moments where it's like, holy shit, it's X? And then how long did it take for you to believe that, like, yeah, I can compete with these guys. Like, I'm as good as any of these guys out here?
Well, I spent my first 8 events suspended on the PGA Tour. I don't think many people know that. I wasn't even allowed to play. My first event back when they finally let me play, was in Hawaii, and I was in the last group on Sunday. And, it was such a wild deal. I just couldn't believe it. I'm in Hawaii, and, one of my teachers that pulled me aside in high school to tell me how much I was ruining my life, her and her husband happened to be in Oahu at the same time. And they followed me on Saturday, and I shot 64. And it was just such a wild transition from her pulling me into a classroom to say, you're ruining your life, to being in the final group on Sunday at a PGA Tour event. And I finished in a 13-way tie for 8th after shooting 1 over on Sunday. But, my hands were shaking so bad I couldn't even function. Yeah, the whole thing was just so shocking, and honestly, I enjoyed the Hooters Tour, and I didn't really want to get off the Hooters Tour, so when I made it to the Korn Ferry Tour, I was I wasn't disappointed, I was excited, but, I was happy just playing the Hooters Tour. After the housing bubble crash finally kicked in, that became a route that wasn't really available anymore. So, it was a wild deal. I was just really excited to have a chance to play with the best. And then there I was in the final group. So, it was something else. I'm really, I'm still taken aback by what, occurred out there. So yeah, it was, but I never saw past the damn Hooters Tour.
Did it, when you're in that final group on a Sunday, does it feel different than playing Korn Ferry Tour or the last group in a Hooters Tour? Like, because you've done this before, you've won at a high level. Is it a different nervous, or is it a good nervous, like you knew what was probably going to happen with your body? In other words, did you react the same way you've done in other situations when, it's Sunday afternoon and you're playing for a title?
No, I wanted to throw up. I hated every second of it. When I was in Hawaii and the tee time was super late, and I just was, honestly, it just wasn't very fun. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the money that came from it, but I was super nervous. I never enjoyed being in the hunt. I liked being 36 going into Sunday and to finish, a little backdoor 16th or a little backdoor whatever. I didn't have that fire, I guess you could say. Teeing off on Sunday with Harris English and Chris Kirk. I didn't really enjoy that. I enjoyed playing with those guys because I'd known them since I was a kid, but, and I'm glad it wasn't, some bigger names, but yeah, it was a crazy deal. And I made, I think it was 126,000. Act like I don't know. It was something else. And, to do that in a place like Hawaii, like I'd never been there was something special. So, I really did not enjoy being in the fire at all. It was just too intense.
I find that so interesting. And I can understand it too. I find it so interesting though, like that I've had 100 and some conversations with these guys, and usually, unless it's they don't want to tell me the truth, it's I live for that moment, right?
Yeah,
I live. Give me the ball in the back nine.
That's what 99% of them say.
Right, like let me get. This is why I did the work. This is the biggest stage. I've talked to guys and, what's it like playing Sunday on a Ryder Cup? Like, it's the greatest goddamn thing I've ever seen in my life, right? And I wanted it. So it's an interesting it's an interesting take that you had on it, and everyone's different, wired a little bit different. Like, it's no right or wrong answer. But I can have empathy of like kind of where you're coming from, that you were comfortable probably on the Hooters tour. Then it goes up to another level, and you're comfortable being T36 on Sunday, and if you backdoor T15, that's great. It pays well.
Exactly. And everybody else that I was around was like, I just remember congratulating guys on finishing third or fourth, and then they would say to me like, I lost. I'm like, yeah, but you could buy like 6 houses in my hometown. You know what I mean? Like, I saw how sad people were for making $700K. Oh, what a sad thing to happen to somebody. And I say that sarcastically, obviously, and it made me sick. Like, I just can't believe that anybody could be dissatisfied with making hundreds of thousands of dollars in 4 days from hitting a ball. And, I remember I made the cut at Pebble one year and got the MDF finish. And I was doing cartwheels in my hotel room because last place was 13.6. I mean, that covered my expenses. That covered everything. I was so freaking pumped up. I just remember coming in last and being so stoked. And that was in 14 when the wind blew a lot that year. And it was just a different deal for me. Like, I did not have that fire. I mean, I did at a younger age, but just being there was huge, and getting to play 75 events was huge. I think it was 73, so giving myself a little more credit than I deserve. But it was just, and then in 15 to hit it as good as I did. I mean, I did that in 16 events, and it was in all the smaller tournaments. So, I wasn't playing at Riviera, and I wasn't playing at Phoenix and things like that. Honda. I did well in Puerto Rico, and I mean that year I had 4 top 10s in the off-field events. So that was a huge chunk of the portion that kept my card. So I was comfortable in those small events. I was never comfortable in 2016 when I got into the big events. I just wasn't.
Follow up on that, like, so you said guys disappointed making 700,000. Do you think you almost have to? It's so competitive out there that the player who thinks that almost has to trick themselves into the mindset that, for lack of a better word, I don't care about the money, right? Like like winning is everything, so I have to disregard the money now to keep the pedal down, to not be satisfied. Because you're right, like, I mean, $700,000 in a week, you could be pretty satisfied with that. Like, nice, right? Invest some of this. This is a big chunk for my family in the future. Spin it positively 1,000 different ways. But do you almost think it's so competitive, it's so alpha male, it's so hard to be successful out there that you almost have to, like, trick yourself into that mindset that the money doesn't matter? It's like, I have to keep pushing a little bit?
I think a lot of guys come from money. I would have to say that probably has something to do with it. And I didn't struggle as a kid, but I was fortunate enough to be able to help my parents in a low time and help them with their bills and help them with live a more comfortable lifestyle, and it worked out so beautifully. Now my dad's doing so great with the junior tour, and now I've become part of that, and it's a really cool. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they're used to the comforts of the high class lifestyle, the 5-star life, and I was in total shock. I thought it was damn near disrespectful. I mean, if you're not going to be happy with $500,000 in 4 days, I don't know what to tell you. Are you going to be happy with anything?
Yeah, it's an interesting mindset, right? Because I think 99.5% of the people, or whatever it would be, if I could play golf for 4 days and make $500,000, I'd be pretty cool with that one, right? I could be like, that's a successful week.
Hell yeah,
right? Like that's a good week. So it's just an interesting mindset, and I know you are, talking about the great ball striking that you had in 15 and 16. So I'm gonna let Willy the teacher explain to me how Willy the PGA Tour player was so successful from a golf swing standpoint on that run. Like, in your golf swing, looking at it now as a teacher, what worked, what can we learn from it, and what made that golf swing so efficient?
Open, connected inside pushes. That was the only thing that I thought about. It was a lower body thing. I have no idea how it went as well as it did. I was not treating my body well. I was smelling the roses. I was doing a lot of things that a player should not do. But I just flushed. It was crazy. Like, I always would say to my friends back home, like, you know, I was having my cake and eating it too. And it was just wild. In 14, I made like 580. And I didn't do a damn good thing for my body that year. You know, I was living in my grandpa's condo that he just moved to the VA home. And it was a condo in Alabama. And, it was wild. I don't know why it worked so well and then it stopped working so well. I got to think that it was just kind of a snowball effect of not being a Billy Horschel or, who worked super hard. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are just diesel, and it was a crazy thing. It all came together. It felt easy. I wanted to play as few events as I possibly could. When I locked my card up in Auburn, I didn't want to play anymore. But my agent and everybody else that, was giving me advice, was like, will you please go play again? And I'm just like, I don't really want to. Like, my card's locked up, right? Like, that's all that matters. Like, am I going to get into all the big events? All right, cool. Let's shut her down. Like, I rented a house in the Caribbean for a month and we went there, we drank 30 bottles of Dom. I mean, it was just like, that was it, just keeping my card that's all I cared about. I didn't care about top 30. I didn't care about top 50. I mean, I got to 116 in the world. That was it. I made it. And, that lack of drive is definitely the reason I didn't progress more than, in the world, golf rankings than I did. But my goals were so low. I always said, people say, hey, what's your goal? I said, well, I set my bar super, super low. So if I beat that, then I'm really, really happy. If you set your goal super high, I'm going to win this tournament. And I had a lot of friends that were like, I'm winning this week. Well, you just missed the cut. Like, so how do you feel now? If you thought you had a legitimate chance of winning and then you just shot a pair of 75s, like, how do you feel? Like, all I wanted to do was make the cut, and then I finished 18th. Like, I feel amazing.
Well, the golf swing work, what I saw with it was just, it was obviously, and tell me if I'm wrong, probably not hitting a lot of draws from that. It's a power fade move, right?
Honestly, I did hit draws.
Did you really from that position? Because it was kind of steep, and then it would flatten, and you had such great lower body rotation. To me, it looked like it would be more of a little bit of a hold cut move and let the lower body do its thing. And
my auto was a low fade. That was the fairway finder for sure.
Okay.
But I could hit the high draw, and most of my iron shots were draws. But yeah, you're right. Setting up open like that, nobody understood how I would draw it. But I flattened the plane so much.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Wayne DeFrancisco was my coach for a couple years, and he did a great breakdown. And it was weird. But my iron shots, I hold a lot of shots in 13 and then in 15. And when I had a good event, I would always hold like 2 or 3 shots in a tournament, and they'd range from 76 yards with a 56 degree, little hip to hip, or when I won on the Korn Ferry Tour, I hold one from 196 with a 7 iron and one from 141 with a pitching wedge, and it was always a draw from that open position, which is weird.
With a driver as well, or iron? Would you fade? If you had fade the driver, draw the irons a little bit.
I could draw the driver as well. It was I could hit any shot. My range sessions were draw, fade, straight, and then that's what I really worked on. So it was a mixed bag. I could make it move any direction from that, and then it got to where I couldn't, and that when I started to play poorly in 2020, I was super inside out, and I was swinging 5 to 7 degrees right from the open position. So that was heel blocks or overcorrected snaps. So this like what I did back in 13 through 17, and then at 18 I played really well in the Corn Ferry Tour and missed my card by just a shade. But I could hit any shot for that position, but my go-to was the punch, and I had this epic 3-iron / 2-iron punch shot, and I hit that thing on. Sometimes I'd hit it 9 times in a round off the tee. It was it was a weird deal. I don't know how the heck I did it. I honestly don't know how I did it, and I'm glad that I did because it helped my parents a lot.
Well, it's uber athletic. It didn't look like there was a whole lot of it. It's a natural. You had a natural, beautiful, flowing golf swing that looked free. It looked like you're just kind of throwing it with your right side and the lower body rotation. Like it didn't look. It's technically very sound, but didn't look like you were thinking much technical. It's just turn like hell and release the club. And
my hands were very low at impact,
yeah.
So they were a lot lower than anybody else on tour, and I didn't have any like hump action at all. I could really clear.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
So the Wayne's breakdown in that little 15-minute video on YouTube got a lot of views, and yeah, it was weird. I mean, I was shocked as everybody else. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I just every week it just seemed to get better and better, and the weeks where I finished 22nd, I mean, I finished 24th or 5th in Canada in 14, got paired with Tim Clark when he was still using the broom handle. And that week I was in the top 3 in all ball striking categories and finished 25th. So, I mean, I really putted poorly in that entire stretch. And if I could have putted okay in 18, I would have gotten my card and probably still be living in Jupiter. But I'm happy to be where I'm at. And I'm really, hoping these lessons take off, and I'm doing pretty good. And the junior tour, I'm just really lucky to have this junior tour to fall back on, and helping kids is just fantastic. And my dad's been running it for almost 20 years. So, but now that I'm rambling, I forget what the original question was.
Well, just like how good the swing is. Do you is that sort of so now you're a professional instructor. Do you have some of that core belief in the instruction you're giving, where it's like, we're going to turn and the arms are going to be along for the ride, but the power is going to come from this move, and this is how we're going to get there? Do you kind of have some core beliefs that when you're showing somebody how to do it, and obviously it worked for you, did at the highest level, that this is how we're going to do it? Or are you not tied into sort of, that motion? Is it hard to teach it sometime, because you do have to be uber athletic to be able to rotate that quick? And make that, I call it professional move, right? And somebody's not athletic enough, it's a hard thing to teach. So playing at the highest level, what do you then take from that into your teaching philosophy, I guess is what I'm asking.
Mostly it's set up. Most people don't set up correctly, and I try to get, that Justin Thomas rehearsal where he's trying to get the club on his hands. If you're looking at a down the line video and you do a freeze frame when the club's at parallel to the ground, I want to get people to get their the club head covering their hands on the way back, and a lot of people suck it inside. Actually, all the people that I've looked at suck it inside, and they, hey, I'm drawing the ball, I'm gonna aim farther right, or I'm slicing the ball, I'm gonna aim farther left. So mostly my stuff is set up, and a lot of people have the butt of the club too close to their belt buckle or zipper or whatever you want to say, and so mostly it's set up and trying to be a one-piece takeaway. That would be the main thing. A wide takeaway is something that people don't do naturally. A lot of people want to be kind of crouchy and kind of hunchback, and they want it to be really in the zone, like just tight to their thighs and zipper. So more what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create space to where their arms can swing freely, and the club doesn't suck inside. and the club face angle and the left wrist angle is huge. So a lot of people, weight dispersion as well. That's huge. So a lot of people, lean into it. Their knee action is a little wacky. So, I try to tell people to, use the ground, balls to the feet. In any athletic endeavor that you do, guarding somebody in basketball or whatever, you want to really use the balls of your feet, and you want to push outwards from your knees, and you want your lines, foot line, knee line, waist, shoulders, eye line to be as close to dialed as possible. So all my stuff is just getting people set up correctly.
So it's that first, I see it a lot too with the fittings I do, it's that first half of the golf swing, even to get it to waist high, where a lot can go wrong from a unathletic setup to, like I said, I see it a ton, club coming way inside. I'm going to hit a draw by bringing the club way inside. It's like, well, actually, I want to do the other way. Then we'll look at some video of, let's think of a flatter golf swing and Fowler or whatever. Well, the club head, the head itself is still outside of his hands coming back. Right.
Yes, outside of the hands is something that I haven't really seen much. Granted, I've only given lessons to about 4 or 5 people, but they are recurring, which is nice. So people have been learning from what I say, but yes, I think the first couple feet of the backswing is just so freaking huge, and I really that's really what I'm focusing on is just getting people set up correctly, because nobody's setup is nice. And especially when I got friends that I play Little League ball with that are super talented, but their fundamentals are screwed up. So I'm really starting from like you said, that getting the club to parallel from the ground is that's step one, and we got to get that dialed in, and then you can kind of just let it flow from there. Yeah,
just let it be athletic from that portion, right? But that's the critical segment of it. You guys had the guys on tour when you did play PGA Tour. Was there some guys that you really enjoyed hanging out with, and some friends that you made, and like who were the guys that you sort of ran around with and had fun with?
Will McKenzie, Steve Marino. I enjoyed Lucas Glover's company. Charles Howell is a total legend. Really, really great guy. Let's see, who else? Andrew Loop. Andrew Loop was big. He's a good friend of mine to this day. And, who else? Jim Renner. Jim Renner, can't forget my boy Renner.
Yeah.
He's the original People's Golfer from Barstool Sports. And everybody's been either sidelined by injury or whatever. Mark Hubbard, he was a friend of mine. But mostly I think I'm with caddies.
Steve Marino. Now, you got to have a good Steve Marino story that's still PG rated. Like, that dude that's a legend right there, right? Like, you don't want to play that guy for $1,000 a hole.
Hell no. And
right,
especially, I wish I would have, if I was about six years older, that's what I've come down to. If I was 6 years older, man, I really think I would have done a little bit more. But yeah. The best Steve Marino story I have is, there's a lot of them, and I only lived a mile from him in Jupiter, so that's a whole nother ball of wax. But the best one is I finished 6th after getting on anxiety medicine because I was shaking like a leaf at PGA West, and I could barely take the club back. So I got on anxiety meds and got my brain straightened out. And then I went to Phoenix and I finished 6th, and which was a great finish. I shot the round of the day on Sunday. And then sorry, let me shut my camper door here. There we go. So Steve, so I finished 6th and then 30th, and then we're staying at the house where they filmed the movie Play Misty for Me, which is a old school Clint Eastwood. Steve always had the dialed in houses, the heated floors in the bathrooms. That's what I always remembered. It was so sick. And, so I finished 6th in, Scottsdale, and then I go up and chip in on the 72nd hole, which was actually the middle left pin at Pebble, final round, I hit it left onto that hill on that downslope, and you're just totally screwed. And I chip it in to finish like 30th or something. So I just had a great 2 weeks. 6th and then 30th for me was basically win-win. And by that I mean victory. So, it's a 7-hour drive, or you can hop on a NetJets with Steve. And so I said, hey, I'm going to hop on that plane with you, dog. And so next thing I know, we hop on the plane. We'd been drinking a lot of beers, and so we land. It's a 34-minute flight or a 7-hour brutal drive. We land in Santa Monica, and they've got our Mercedes-Benz C classes there, and the Santa Monica airport on Sundays was closed, the executive airport. So, and I only had to give them like $1,000, and I just made roughly 300 the previous 2 weeks, so that was a no-brainer. I had a little gal with me, and so all the gates are closed. We can't exit, but we got these brand new Mercedes Benzes, and the airport's closed. So what do we decide to do? We decide to race them up and down the runway. So we're racing these up and down the runway for a good hour, and then we finally all right, we should probably leave. We should try to find an exit. So, we have these brand new LA open cars, and, we ended up finding our way out. And then we all continued to indulge, and I went on a late night shopping spree with the girl that I was with. Couldn't find my hotel, went to the wrong hotel, knocked on the wrong door when the key wouldn't work. But yeah, I would say flying private from Monterey to Santa Monica and having our courtesy cars sitting on the runway and no way to leave was the coolest thing that I've ever done in my life. And
Steve Mourinho was a part of it.
Steve Mourinho, Will McKenzie, myself, the women that we were with. But yeah, we land and the pilots leave, and it's just us.
Yeah.
It's our crazy asses stuck in a private airstrip.
Well, that's what I would do. Yeah. I mean, what else do you do? You got some beer or open runway and nothing to really hit. Go have some fun. Can't blame you on that
ripped
one.
them. We ripped them, and I mean, we probably destroyed those vehicles, and we were running 120 to 150 up and down that runway, and luckily nobody was hurt. And we had a great time, and I was like, as it was happening, I was like, I will never forget this. Like, it was so cool.
Is he still trying to grind it up? He's been injured a lot, right? That's kind of what happened with his career.
Yeah. I mean, and he still plays great, but yeah, he had back surgery, I think, 60, 90 days ago, and I believe he'll absolutely keep going. He has that fire. He wants to keep going. Steve's one of my favorite people on planet Earth. Him and James Driscoll and Will McKenzie. And Driscoll was another guy that I was big buddies with, and big influences in my life. It was the coolest thing ever, just to get to fly private with Steve, and the whole thing was just mind-boggling.
Difference between talent on the Korn Ferry Tour and PGA Tour, is it noticeable when you were out on both tours and you won on the Korn Ferry, or is it so small, the difference, that it's basically indistinguishable? For the
courses are a lot easier. People ask me that. They did when I was on tour. Hey, what's the difference? The cuts are 6-7 under on the Korn Ferry. Why are they 1 over or even on the PGA Tour? Well, it's a different sport. The pins are tucked. You got to control your trajectory. Ball flight. Everything. I guess trajectory and ball flight are the same thing, but you gotta hit a draw to a back left pin. You gotta hit a cut to a right. The ball's not going to just stick where it lands, and the rough's a lot higher. And the talent level is. The guys are good on the Korn for sure, but the courses are just so much more difficult on the PGA Tour, and that's why the cuts are even par. 1, 2 under. You're never going to see a 6 under cut on the PGA Tour unless it dumped a bunch of rain and maybe the John Deere or something.
But there is.
Bob Hope's always going to be a low one.
Yeah, but you do see a little bit of talent difference. But between the two tours, maybe the bottom half of the Korn Ferry Tour versus the bottom half of the PGA Tour, is that sort of where that biggest divide would be, in your opinion? Because, I mean, they can all play. You guys are all, I mean, they're all out on the Korn Ferry Tour. I mean, they're great players. But is that sort of where you can see those little nuances from being on both sides of it?
You saying the bottom half of the PGA Tour and the top half of the Korn?
No, it's like, let's say you had, the guy who was, for argument's sake, 100th on the money list 75th on the money list on the PGA Tour against the guy who's 75th on the money list on the Korn Ferry Tour. Now, they're both great golfers. They're playing professionally, at a very high level. But is that a pretty big divide?
I would say so. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, their games will develop, and the average age is so much younger than it was when I was playing at that level. So the average age when I got to the PGA Tour, I was 26 or 27. The guys that made it on the tour it was around 30, 31, and now I think it's much younger. And then on the Korn Ferry Tour, the average age is crazy young. This year when I played sparingly, I mean, I was exempt in most events, but I didn't play in a lot of them just because, I mean, everybody's 23, 24, and I turned 35 this year, and the next year I turned 36, and everybody they stay the same age. It's kind of like that thing from
Dazed and Confused.
Dazed and Confused, exactly.
There you
exactly.
go.
I get older, they stay the same age. It goes back to that Matthew McConaughey thing, man. It's just it's crazy. It just blew my mind how young they were and just how ripped they were. Everybody's just. And even guys from my home state, I would expect them to reach out to me and maybe want to learn a thing or two from me, but that never happened. Whereas it did before, and everybody's just a lot different now. They're a lot more polished. They're a lot more focused. They're wearing Vineyard Vines. It's a trip. It really is. How ready they are.
I was going to ask you this too. We both have a love of Golden Age architecture, and I was doing my research for this. And I know you love Donald Ross golf courses. I do as well. And
oh, yeah.
What is it about a really good Ross that's been maintained? Let's call it to a air quotes Ross standard of the greens and all that stuff. Like, what is it about a Donald Ross classic golf course that just does it for you? The look, what is it about his architecture that you find so enjoyable to play, for lack of a better word?
I guess, I hate to say simplicity, but, you got a course that's built in 1909, and it still stands the test of time. Like, I just thought that was so cool. Like, the course at Country Club of Columbus, such a fantastic golf course, and it was built in 1909. I love these Birmingham Country Club East Course. I like the humpback greens, turtleback greens. I like the fall offs around the greens, the tough chipping areas, the bunkering. But honestly, just the kind of I hate to use the word simplicity because it might take away a little bit from the brilliance of it, but just the fact that he was born in 1876 and, these courses are still killing it to this day. It's just, it's just incredible how these courses have stood the test of time and then they hardly touch them. The course in Columbus that I played at the last couple of years, like I said, it was built in 1909, and it's only 70 acres. And you can't go anywhere in the Southeast and bring up that golf course where people are like, nobody dislikes Triple C. It is the shit. And it is just, it's such a fun course to play, and it's only 70 acres. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a brilliant, I don't know what it was, and to be able to do what they did. I'm a huge Seth Rayner fan. I love Rayner golf courses. And there's just, I don't know if it was something in the DN. I don't know. Like, there's something exactly. I feel the same way about a Rayner, where they're simple, but yet the bunkering off the tee, the way they look, there is something about the brilliance of it that's timeless. And I find like a classic Seth Rayner golf course, like a Ross, just the most enjoyable. I've been fortunate enough to play like Yeaman's Hall Club in Charleston, South Carolina. I don't know if there's a better walk where right? You're just in
Yeah.
that lowlands area, and the template holes are all there, and it's simple walk from tee to tee, and it's not overly huge. It's not overly difficult, but the green, they're perfect, right? They're
Yeah.
just
Is
perfect.
Rayner like Ocean Course at Kiowa? Like,
No. Rayner was more like, same time period as Ross. So I was just talking Chicago Golf Club, Shore Acres, Yeamans Hall, Country Club of St. Louis. Like it's, Kiowa. I played Kiowa. I don't know if you've ever played. I'm assuming you have. That one beat the shit out of me. Pete Dye and I sometimes a little bit don't see.
that's a die.
Yeah, it's a die. Like
I was a member at the Die in Jupiter, and I love Pete Dye too. Oh my god! But I haven't had the good fortune of playing any Rainers, so
go check out
honestly.
Go if you love Ross, man. Go if you can get on a. I think there's more of them up north. I think there was only one in Florida, but if you can get on a classic Seth Rayner golf course. The architecture, it's in the same vein at some level. The green complexes are a little bit different, but it's the same idea. But it's such a brilliant way of, same thing, the courses are 100 years old and they still stand the test of time.
Oh, cool. So he was born in the 1800s as well.
Yeah, it had to be around there. I mean, because he was worked with C.B. McDonald, like Chicago Golf Club. If you ever get a chance to play that, it's like walking through a museum of golf course architecture, right, with Rayner and McDonald. And I think McDonald was sort of his mentor. And then he kind of came in and did. It's like playing golf. I kind of call it an experience like Pebble, right, where you're playing golf sort of in a museum, and you just sort of get lost in the architecture of it, like you're playing something that's special. But yeah, if you get out there to play a Rayner, man, it is. If you love Ross, you'll love the Rayner stuff as well. So.
Oh, I know I would, and Pebble's one of my favorites, the views and everything, and I really want to get out to Bend. And the courses out west, I haven't played many of them. I've played the lakes at Olympic. I've played that one, and and a lot of them are like Midwest tracks. Those Rainers, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's a bunch out east and Midwest, right? That's kind of where most of the Rainers were done. I don't think there's too many out west and too many in the south, but Midwest, out east, that's Long Island. There's some Rainer stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of where he made his mark. But it's, and they can also, if they basically, they had to go back and sort of redo a lot of them to bring back the Rainer lines where they planted trees in the 60s and 70s to sort of take away the lines. And if it's been maintained original Rayner, or they've gone through it and brought it back to life of how it should be, that's where the brilliance of the architecture really comes through, of how good those guys truly were.
Who did Prairie Dunes? Because that thing is freaking sweet.
That's Perry Maxwell and his son did that one. I think each did 1-9. I haven't played it, but I've heard it's just phenomenal, right?
It's the story of 2 nights for sure, and the back nine is so sick. But yeah, they anytime we played the Wichita Open, they'd let us come out there and play for nothing, and we could bring our caddy, and it was just, oh my God, it was such an experience. It was always very busy, but just to be able to play a course like that, I mean, that's one thing I'm going to miss so much. But yeah, I gotta check out these Rainers. Absolutely.
Yeah, go check out some Seth Rayner golf courses. If you love Ross, you'll love it, and you'll appreciate what from an architectural standpoint of how brilliant it truly is. So
yeah.
Well, thanks, man. Like, I really appreciate this. I was a fan of yours. I loved your golf swing when you were on tour. I always, in my mind, I'm trying to rotate like that and get left and using big muscles. I thought you just had an absolute, and still do. I mean, 30. It's not like you're 70 years old and can't do it, but you have a brilliant golf swing. And in my mind, I'm thinking, that's how I'm trying to get that rotation, quiet hands, athletic, and let the motion just happen. So I've always admired your golf swing and your talents, and it's good stuff, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one little funny anecdote. I had a guy, the open thing that I do will kind of save your back a little bit. Just like, the HV3, like slide the right foot through impact. I had a guy fly me to California a couple years ago just to get a personal lesson from me. He gave me $5,000, just to like get a lesson from me because his back, he was giving him troubles, and the open stance was something that was really helping him. So, but yeah, it's I think this open thing is something that might become more common, and but you definitely got to get that left hip out of the way, and you got to make sure you keep the butt on the wall, stay in the phone booth, and but yeah, absolutely. No, I'll always cherish those days, but I'm very happy, and if not more happy doing what I'm doing now.
That's awesome. Keep up the good work, Pro. I appreciate your time tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.